Welcome back to the Dark Manor podcast, the only podcast that laughs in the face of lawsuits. I'm Iris.
I'm Hax.
And don't mind what's going on the TV today. We'll talk about it shortly. So after our little dispute yesterday, last week, when we realized we don't have explicit permission by the creators to talk about things, we decided, yeah, SCPs sound like a good idea.
We don't need permission, right?
Technically,
right?
we don't.
Yeah. If you can make them, you can read them.
For the whopping one of you who's watching this on Spotify, and doesn't know who we are or what Gormico is. Gormico is where we're currently uploading on YouTube. Say hello. The fuck?
Hello, how are you?
Anyway, so, I want to bring that up because this Saturday, one of my biggest endeavors in terms of content creation is, I'm saying that's because it's my first full-length thing that's like over an hour long.
1 hour and 3 minutes.
Yeah, so full cast audio drama based around the Doctor Who mythos is coming, and that's why we have my entire Doctor Who universe of 42 videos being played in the background today.
Number 1 is mine.
Yeah, he plays a role in a solid 1, 2, 3, 4 of them.
Wait, 4?
4.
I know of 3.
This one, Heist of the Daleks, Town That Went Missing, Ruler of the Daleks.
What was I in Town That Went Missing? Oh wait, no. What were the?
It's literally just a recording.
This is a prologue.
Yeah, it's a prologue, aka I took a piece of the actual episode.
So technically, I'm only in 3.
Yeah. So we decided to explore the SCPs, and we found SCP-426.
It's a fucking toaster.
Yeah, its literal title is I Am a Toaster. So what we're going to do is I am going to be reading the classification shit.
They'll be reading the
description of it and properties.
They'll be reading the file. I'll be reading the story that goes. One of the 8 different stories that were made to go along with.
There's 8 stories about a toaster.
8 stories.
Anyway, SP4. I said that weirdly.
You said SCP.
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 The Fitness Gram Pacer Test is a multifaceted aerobics craft.
The SCP. The SCP database is classified. No, wrong podcast.
Okay. Item number: SCP-426. Object.
We can't speak today. the time we decide to go away from creepypastas.
Object class
Euclid.
What does that mean?
Euclid.
What's the different tier? I am a fucking dumbass, so give me the tiers of SCPs.
Quick rundown of object classes for SCPs. You have Safe, Euclid, and Cater. Those are your main 3. Safe means, the Foundation knows about it, or, they know enough about it to keep it contained safely without problem, or that it needs, an action to be caused, take a button that can end the world with one press. That's considered safe, because you have to press it for it to end the world, but other than that, as long as no one fucking touches it, everyone's fine. Euclid is for things that the Foundation doesn't know much about, but they can contain it, or that's safe for, autonomous things.
They don't know much about a fucking toaster?
Autonomous things like people, robots, animals, stuff like that. And then you have Cater, things like, if you know SCP-682, it's a fucking monstrosity. Basically that, yeah. And then you have Thaumiel, which I'm not too sure about what those are. I'm not that into it. And then you have Terminated. I think that's the...
That means dead.
Yeah. Terminated.
Okay.
You have been dominated.
Special containment procedures for a fucking toaster.
By the way, just real quick, I took a quick read. For some reason, this is put into
First person
from the toaster's point of view. As quote in the description, I must be introduced this way in order to prevent ambiguity. I don't know why. Maybe we'll learn about it.
Yeah, here is the special containment procedures for the brave little toaster.
Fuck.
That's an actual movie!
I know!
You want to watch it?
No.
Welcome to Dark Manor Reacts.
I'd rather watch The Little Train That Could.
Is that an actual thing?
I don't know. It's definitely a book.
Huh.
Yeah, he could do it. He could get
Anyway, I am to be sealed in a chamber with no windows through which I may be viewed. The door to my chamber must have a label completely unrelated to my designation or identity, in order to prevent unintended spread of my primary effect. Butter. Toast.
Just call it the kitchen appliance.
That's still related.
Safe class. That thing. That thing made of metal. That'll really narrow it down now, won't it?
Only level 3 and above personnel are to know of my presence, and particularly of my properties. Assigned personnel are to be rotated out on a monthly basis to prevent contamination of my secondary effect. Psychiatric evaluation is mandatory at the end of the month. If personnel are deemed unaffected, they may be reassigned to me no less than 4 months after their last rotation with me. Any affected personnel are to be given a Class C anesthetic and transferred to a different site. Description. Hello! I am SCP-426.
Why are you rating it like fucking Clippy the paperclip? Hello!
For some reason,
I see you're having some trouble there!
That's a fucking Brooklyn accent.
That was not a fucking Brooklyn accent. That was a mix of British and Brooklyn.
I was thinking Tiny Box Tim.
I've never seen fucking Markiplier's Tiny Box Tim. He's a tiny bitch. Tiny bitch Tim. Description. Hello, I'm
the fucking reader here. Hello, I am SCP-426. I must be introduced this way in order to prevent ambiguity.
Yeah, this is definitely not
I am an ordinary toaster, able to toast bread when supplied with electricity. However, when any human being mentions me, they inadvertently refer to me as in the first person.
What the fuck?
that explains it. That explains why he's in the first person.
What does this have to do with ambiguity, though? It's because they're forced to do it.
Despite all attempts, there is yet to be a way to speak or write about me in the third person. When in my continuous presence for over 2 months, individuals begin to identify themselves as a toaster.
There are so many jokes we could make, but at the same time, so many cancellations. Do we want to go for one?
You can go for it. I'm not.
But if I do it, I get us both canceled.
Fair enough. Okay. Unless forcefully restrained, these people will ultimately harm themselves in their attempts to emulate my standard functions.
What, do they like try and stick their penis in a fucking sock and put toast in their ass?
This must be my plug-in.
Well, yeah, they like stick their dick in the plug and then put a piece of toast up their ass. Like, what the fuck is going on? I'm glad we picked this one.
Hey, last week we said we need to pick actual ones that are entertaining.
Yep, this is pretty entertaining. By the way, that means expunged.
I was discovered in the home of the redacted.
Expunged! Redacted is something else. Where it says we're fucking redacted.
Oh?
Yeah. Redacted is where it says redacted. The black stuff means expunged.
What the fuck does expunged mean?
I don't remember.
Anyway, of the expunged family. After the gruesome deaths of 3 of its members, it had been given to the younger Mr. or Mrs. Expunged as a wedding gift. No card or any other identifying markings had been found in my box. Approximately 2 months after the family received me, fire crews were dispatched to the home due to an electrical fire. The younger Mrs. expunged. I forgot the word.
I read ahead.
Died from the electrical discharge that she had caused when attempting to devour an electric socket. What the fuck?
I'm glad I read ahead.
The other 2 victims died shortly before the fire occurred. The elder Mrs. Expunge had gorged herself with nearly 10 kilograms of bread before her stomach burst and she died of internal bleeding.
I wasn't too far off.
The younger Mr. Expunged died of severe blood loss after attempting redacted with me.
Oh
yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, oh fuck.
We should have saved this one for when Meow comes back on.
Too late, unless you want to change and do this all over again. What makes you think I can fuck a toaster, though?
What's it plugged in?
What's the
toaster plugged in?
Here's the thing. He died of severe blood loss, not of like shock from burns. So it makes me wonder what the fuck happened. What happened let's be honest, from what happened here. He stuck his dick in the toaster, something happened, it got cut off, and he died from blood loss while fucking the toaster with his cut off dick. Don't try and imagine this.
You're describing it perfectly, though. How is anyone not supposed to imagine it?
Don't imagine the man. I'm not even gonna say it again.
The sole survivor was the elder Mr. Expunged, who was suffering from severe malnutrition. He stated that he had inserted some bread a week prior and was still waiting for the toast to pop out.
I was right about that part.
I was confiscated by the Foundation after the police noted my unusual properties. A Class C anesthetic was administered to the affected officers. Experiment log 426-1. Date. -1. Date. Expunged. Subject. D-Class personnel. D426-1. Procedure. D4261 was asked to describe what he believed was contained in my chamber. He was not informed about my identity or properties. Details. D461 stated, I'm probably some huge monster holed up in there. That's what you guys have all over the place, right? D461 remained oblivious to his use of the first person pronoun.
Thank you, Chester. Experiment log 426-2.
Date. Expunged. Subject. D-Class personnel. D4262. Procedure. D462 was placed in my chamber and given regular meals through a dispenser. No communication with D462 was permitted. Multiple cameras were situated in the chamber, positioned so that I was outside their field of vision, but allowing constant observation of D462. We remained sealed until my secondary effect manifested in the subject. I was bolted to the floor so that I could not be moved into a camera's view. Details. After 45 days of isolation, D462 wrapped his arm around me and began conversing with me, stating that we were brothers. D462 never deviated from using the first-person plural when speaking with me. Subject was terminated 1 hour after this event. It is theorized that the isolation accelerated the progression of my secondary effect. So the secondary effect is believing you're a toaster.
Yeah.
The primary effect is just being a toaster, right?
No, the primary effect is I'm speaking in the first person.
Okay, right. But its actual primary effect is being a fucking toaster.
Basically. An anomalous toaster.
It's so fucking stupid. This might be my favorite SCP.
I'm surprised this isn't even a -J. Like, this is a legitimate SCP.
Garfield, are you dash series or -J?
Lasagna -J.
Experiment log 4263. Date expunged. Subject D-Class personnel D4263. Procedure. A screw was removed from me and shown to D-426-3, who asked to describe it. D-4263 was not informed about my identity or properties. Details. D-4263 referred to it as my screw, consistent with Experiment 4261. The subject was oblivious to his use of the first person in his description. This suggests that even if I were destroyed, my effects would still be inherent in my remains. Experiment log 4264. Date. Expunged. D-Class Personnel D-4264. Procedure. D-4264 was placed in isolation in a cell adjacent to my chamber to be observed until my secondary effect manifests. Details. No effects appeared. D-4264 was terminated 90 days after the start of the experiment. Thank God there were some limits to my effects. A lot of us were starting to get worried about me. Dr. C. Expunged. So, from that alone, this is my favorite fucking creepypasta because...
Creepypasta?
Well, my favorite SCP because it's a fucking toaster. Because, like, my properties are so fucking good.
Stop.
Why couldn't we just fucking wait to do this for Meow?
I mean, we can read a different one.
We're not. We're too far into this.
Too far.
We're half into it.
We're 17 minutes in.
We're halfway into it. And half of those minutes was probably just us giggling at the fact that it's a fucking toaster.
And
The guy fucked the toaster and died of blood loss.
Well, that's what happens when you eviscerate. Never mind. I want to stop talking. It's best for everyone. Okay, next up is a story based on the SCP. This, one of the 8, titled, Let Me Guess, Applesauce. I have no idea why, but...
If you say applesauce with a B, you can call it applesauce.
Applesauce. Okay. This is gonna be fun.
Well, yeah, if it's a fucking toaster. I copied the link into the actual story and then it started the fucking text to or speech to text format. Mm-hmm. So it's like the link and then a fucking toaster.
Okay. Let me guess. Applesauce. There's weird things.
This is pretty big.
Yeah, that's what I said. The Foundation used to lock things away. Things this and that which they called special. Every object that they deemed unique enough to keep was kept, safe and secure within their gates. Each one with their own set of procedures, their own fates. Each one with a set of precautions, instructions, and the like, designed to keep them locked up tight, and to protect them from what was normal. I was just another subject, hoarded in a room with no light, until a request to the Board of Research was submitted by the next doctor. They'd proctor a test for a few, and then back to my chamber I went. That's how most of my time was spent. I had no concerns about it, no complaints or qualms. How could I feel if something was wrong? If I am nothing but a toaster.
This is about to be a fucking deep dive of a toaster's psychology.
But it's called, let me guess, applesauce.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Can
it.
this toaster feel emotions? We will learn due to this very deep talking point.
Alright. The ding of a toaster sounded as the waitress approached the table. You can do this.
Sir,
she said.
Do you need a box with that?
Slowly, Ralph took his eyes off of his plate and warily looked up at the thin woman. Wait, Ralph? Wait, like from the last story we read.
God fucking damn it!
He's back! He's always here! No, he replied.
Are you sure?
The waitress inquired, looking slightly concerned.
I brought out your order almost an hour ago, and you barely touched it.
Looking down at his plate, most of his breakfast had already been eaten. 2 strips of bacon, 2 eggs over easy, and a short stack of pancakes, all gone. The only thing left on his plate was 2 slices of toast. Barely touched it, Ralph thought. That's a good one.
Oh no, the toast! No, not the toast!
You can just throw the rest out, he responded. There isn't really enough here for me to take home.
I'll go get a box for that.
The waitress said warmly, as if she hadn't heard him.
Just give me a moment.
As she walked away, another ding sounded. Out of the corner of his eye, Ralph saw a lanky waiter walk out of the kitchen. Slowly, he walked across the room and gently placed down a plate on the table where another customer was seated. Ralph could hear a small exchange between them, and as the waiter walked away, the other man began eating his meal. It was a plate full of toast. Soon the waitress returned, holding a styrofoam box, the check, and another plate. She set both down on the table. Sitting on the plate was a toasted slice of raisin bread, sprinkled with cinnamon.
Don't worry,
she assured him.
It's on the house!
I hate that voice so much. Without another word, Ralph placed
Are you full of maidens, sir?
Leave. No one wants you here.
Are you sure you don't want a few toasted slices of bread?
No, we're just gonna take off your glasses.
No, my net worth.
My net worth. Without another word, Ralph placed both slices in the box, paid for his meal, and exited the restaurant. Good morning, Mr. Brindis. Conrad Brindis, the North American Regional Commissioner from the Coalition of International Toasters, looked up from his paperwork and smiled.
Good morning to you, sir. Too, Seth. You can put those irons down on my desk.
Seth, Conrad's personal assistant, put the pair of clothing irons down and sat in the chair opposite his boss. How are you doing today, Commissioner?
I'm doing pretty well. You?
Good. Had some sourdough for breakfast.
Huh. Well, I'm jealous.
Conrad reached for the iron's extension cords.
I take it Lisa will made it for you.
Yeah, she keeps insisting on having me try all her recipes. Not that I'm complaining. She's a great cook.
Nice!
He stood up and plugged them into the wall.
Oh, did you hear about last night's vote yet? No. They illegalized toasters!
The one on your bill? How'd it go? Conrad walked back over to the table and picked up the irons.
It went very well, Seth. Got through both houses with unanimous support. Not that I was expecting anything less.
Yeah, I can't see why anyone would vote against it. What I'm wondering is how the heck it wasn't already on the books when you introduced it. I mean, how do we not have a law against throwing away toast?
God damn. I was correct.
Here's another little, poem thing. A simple appliance like myself might not have caused harm to anyone, certainly not the Foundation. A huge organization with so much on their hands, keeping abnormal things from harm, and normality from abnormality, needed a reason to hold on to me. The reason, seemingly innocuous, exceedingly obnoxious, shows how the versus perspective is what?
It's just so beautiful!
Perspective is not seen through my lens, my objective. I don't have a point of view. It is but an artifact of one simple fact. In the words that you have heard, this writer and all others always refer to me in the first person, a mere side effect of my true properties.
It's so fucking beautiful. The duality of this toaster. It's so happy to just make toast and make other people feel like they gotta make toast!
Ralph wanted to tear the radio out of his car and throw it out the window. Driving to work from the restaurant, there was a story on the local station about the new bill going through the parliament. The proposal would impose a fine on people who throw away toast. A fine? That's the literal opposite of fine. It was times like this...
Do you have a fucking thing against toast, Ralph?
Yeah, fuck toast!
Yeah, no, fuck you!
Fuck you! It was times like this that he wondered if he was the only sane person on the planet. Everywhere he went, he saw thin, wiry people obsessed with eating toast. No one saw anything wrong with it. No one considered the possibility that maybe some people had been tired of the stuff for years. His thoughts now wandered to the toast sitting on the passenger seat. 2 pieces he could hold both in one hand, but the thought of actually consuming them had become almost nauseating. Now with his luck, when he tried to throw them away, he'd be stuck paying money he didn't have. As he pulled into the parking lot, Ralph thought about his job. He felt his mostly empty wallet in his pocket, and mostly of the money in it had been spent on his breakfast. His pay barely covered rent and food, so he certainly couldn't afford a fine. He couldn't get rid of the toast by giving it to his coworkers either. Even though they all seemed to be in love with the stuff, they would never take it off his hands.
No, you must eat this prime rib.
Right here, eat it.
It's yours.
It's yours, not mine. Eat the toast.
One toast to rule them all.
Just shove it on their finger.
I'm willing to bet this ends with the entire world fucking collapsing because there's only one piece of toast left.
His thoughts now wander to the toast sitting on the No, wait, no, that's not it too. Ralph wished that the toast would just disappear. He wished that he could make it vanish and just be done with it. He was never tired of people expecting him to heed it every day, and never listening to him when he said no. As he parked his car, Ralph directed his frustration towards the box from the restaurant. Picking it up, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, if he thought hard enough, he could make it vanish. Yeah, I wish.
What's his fucking hate boner against toast?
You like toast?
You don't?
Toast is pretty good. Especially with butter and jelly on it.
Not fucking avocados like some people. My family likes to put avocado on toast, and I find it gross.
That sounds pretty gross. That's what you put with, like, a burrito.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Conrad and Seth were both laughing as they continued their conversation.
I know this one's Seth, and you're Seth.
Oh man, he honestly thought that would work?
Yeah!
Conrad held a piece of bread between the clothing irons.
But all he managed to toast was his bone marrow.
Damn, I should not be laughing at this. That sounds just horrible.
No, it's fine. He was laughing about it too for the next week. Of course, he only lived that long, but still, he got a laugh out of it.
Sir, that's terrible. Seth clutched his sides. Gosh, this should not be funny.
This is just us. This is us when we were reading it. When we were reading the first story about how people fucking dying.
He should have eviscerated his own penis.
One of these days, we're gonna read a creepypasta and it accidentally fucking reveals all the events that we've been experiencing in real life.
Oh god. Wait, like what? ISIS?
Sitting down, reading a podcast.
Oh, yeah. He likes to toast.
Well, it wouldn't have worked either way.
Conrad separated the irons, dropping the fresh piece of toast on the desk.
In order to toast a slice of bread, you need direct heat. For example, I just used these irons to do it. Now, a big piece of cum, on the other hand.
It's not cum. We just
don't know how to pronounce it.
Jinx. Before he could finish, a red light began shining on his desk.
Huh. I haven't seen those in a while.
What is that, boss?
It's just something I need to call the chairman about. I'm going to need a few moments alone to do that. This stuff is above your security level.
Yeah, as if I actually have a security level. That's a good one.
Hey, you'll get promoted eventually. But seriously, why don't you get some lunch while I call him? This shouldn't take too long.
Hold on. But he's the guy's boss, so he can promote him.
Fuck you, Seth! Fuck you!
Alright, Mr. Brindis, just let me know if you need anything else.
Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit! It's another fucking piece of cinema!
Poetry, you fuck.
On one
particular day, a doctor took me away from my chamber to the approved testing room for an experiment. At the other end of the facility, past every bend in the hall, every room, every researcher and test subject, there was an entrance. A small but important group made their entrance. While the doctor prepared, they were preparing. What? He sat and stared, contemplating me, how I was but a toaster that could only be referred to in the first person. And while he sat, the group of my followers began an attack. Those followers who saw what I could do, what I was, what would reveal my vision to the appeal of the masses.
Toaster cult! Toaster cult!
So what I'm hearing is the entirety of the SCP Foundation was taken down by a toaster who made a cult.
Yes!
I mean, okay. No matter how hard he tried, Ralph just couldn't focus on his work. He had been sitting at his desk for over an hour now, just staring at his computer screen, unable to type his report. Occasionally he would begin entering in a few words, but would immediately delete it moments after. This wasn't a major problem. The report wasn't needed until the next board meeting, and that was still a week away. But there was a larger issue eating away at him.
The toast.
Slowly, Ralph turned again towards the box from the restaurant, now sitting near the edge of the desk. Hesitating, he reached his hands toward it and picked it up. He closed his eyes and carefully opened it. Opening his eyes, he was greeted with the same sight he'd seen in his car. The box was completely empty. Okay, Ralph thought. There has to be some logical explanation for this. It probably just fell out, right? He remembered walking out of the restaurant, how he held the box tightly, knowing that dropping it would attract someone to talk to him. With everyone obsessing over this stuff so much, someone would have noticed if he had dropped 2 pieces of toast in the street. It was doubtless that someone would have approached him about it. No, I definitely dropped it. That's the only reasonable explanation. I dropped it and no one saw. Pushing the subject...
You dropped a heavenly piece of toast?
At least he didn't drop the soap. Pushing the subject out of his mind,
No, this is fucking worse!
Pushing the subject out of his mind, he went back to the computer. By the end of the day, he had completed 2 sentences. So he sat there from 9 to 5.
That's me writing Erebus.
That's me writing Blitz. Seth had eaten well for lunch, 2 pieces of toast with jam, and some split pea soup. Good soup. He had approached Conrad's office. There was loud talking inside.
Hold on.
You get toast on the screen?
Look, Mr. Chairman! Look, Mr. Chairman, I just don't think we need to deploy them right now. We've had these sensors malfunction before.
This was probably a conversation he wasn't supposed to hear. Talking with Chairman meant that it wasn't something of confidence of which he was not allowed to know. Therefore, Seth started to walk away.
We haven't had an actual reality bender in decades. Why would one pop up now?
He stopped in his tracks. Reality bender wasn't a phrase he had heard before. It sounded like an imaginated idea, but Seth found his curiosity to be growing. Against his better judgment, he moved closer to the door.
Okay, alright, I understand your concern.
So this means after Seth died by Alex, he was transported to this universe where toast took over the world.
Yeah, so did Ralph.
Fair enough. It's still you.
Oh. Where?
Right under that.
I'll send them out after the maintenance team finishes up. But only if we gather another alarm. Otherwise, there just isn't enough calls right now.
Still you.
Even if there was one, we can afford to wait right now. With the signature that small, whoever it might be isn't going to vaporize a building anytime soon.
Seth wondered if he had heard that comment correctly.
To be blunt, sire.
Sir, you fuck.
I'm hesitant to send them out because it's going to cost a significant amount of money, and my constituents are going to ask questions about where that money went. Thank you. I'll call you right away if anything else happens. Bye.
There was a click on the phone. There was a click as the phone was hung up, followed by a sigh.
I know you've been standing out there. You can come in.
Timidly, Seth slowly opened the door and poked his head inside. How did you know I was out there, Mr. Brindis? Conrad smiled, looking vaguely amused.
I didn't. I say that every time I get a confidential call. I figured that if someone was actually eavesdropping outside my door, saying something that would have made them give themselves away.
Seth smiled sheepishly.
Come in and close the door, you're not in trouble.
Seth quickly stepped inside, shutting the door behind him, and took a seat at his boss's desk.
Alright, Seth. Tell me what you heard.
Here's another poem.
Whoa!
Fuck you. Most don't stay around me long enough to feel the true extent of my abilities. The way that my effects reflect on neglected parts of the mind, months must be spent. Few have been sent to this fate, and even fewer are lent the skills needed for it. Not to kill them. Talking of me in the first person is a trivial reaction, much easier to comprehend than my true action. I allow people to see a sight that starts dim but gradually gains light. It's a view so strange many who see it are left deranged. But my followers knew that this sight was meant to be seen. They had been nothing less than rightfully depressed at the foundation which stored me away. And they were found to reveal to all of the world, the boys and girls, elders and youth, a terrific sight. The sight of truth. There's something
Beautiful.
There's something wrong with this toaster, bro.
What's wrong with it?
That we're only halfway through the story. Ralph knew it was a stupid idea. It was non-essential, absurd, and paranoid of him to be doing this. Or nonsensical, not non-essential. But as soon as he got back to his apartment from work, he popped a slice of bread in his toaster. Ralph had plenty of reason to keep a toaster. While he wasn't fond of toast, he still very much liked Pop-Tarts. Who doesn't? As soon as the now dark... Shut the fuck up, don't you speak.
No, I like Pop-Tarts. Well, it depends on the ones. S'mores are the best.
S'mores are pretty okay. Fudge is better.
I don't think I've had those.
They're pretty good. I'll bring them over next week. As soon as the now darkened slice popped out, Ralph immediately grabbed it, dropped it on the counter, and cursed in pain from his burning hand. Yep, that's a great idea you've come up with here. Burn yourself because you want to see if you can make toast disappear with your mind. Brilliant. Breathing deeply a few times to calm down, he gathered his thoughts and focused his frustration on the morsel now sitting in front of him. After a moment, he closed his eyes. I hate toast. I hate how every moron I ever come across is just so in love with the stuff. I hate how it gets stale when you leave it out for an hour. I hate how there's always that one part of the crust that's burnt. I hate the way it tastes. I hate the way it smells. I absolutely despise the stuff. Ralph opened his eyes. Sitting on the counter was now a slightly cooked piece of toast, completely unaffected by his attempt. Okay, maybe it needs to be directed at this particular slice. Ralph poked the piece gently and then closed his eyes again. Just one.
Why am I playing the role of the toast? No, not Racky Daddy!
Okay, maybe it needs to be directed at this particular slice. Ralph poked the piece gently and then closed his eyes again. I hate that exact slice of toast for burning my hand. His eyes opened, the slice was still there. Ralph turned around and vented his frustration. Damn it, he yelled. Can't this piece of shit just go away? He stood there for a moment and then with a sigh he accepted the pointlessness of what he was doing. Ralph turned around and looked back at the counter. It was now empty. He blinked a few times, wondering if there was something wrong with his eyes. The toast was nowhere to be seen. He looked closer, but there was no trace. As he ran his hand over the surface, he only felt the smooth material of the counter. Not even a crumb remained. Not even a... Ralph stayed up all night trying to repeat the effect. By sunrise, an entire loaf of bread had been toasted, and by an entire loaf of bread had been vanished.
What, is he the fucking anti-toast?
Yep.
No, I think I understand what's going on here. So he keeps saying he hates it, but then subconsciously he just gorges himself.
It's you.
Well, you didn't hear anything I wouldn't have let you know about eventually.
Wait, you were gonna tell me about that stuff?
No, for another few months, but yes. You've been my assistant manager for 1.5 years now, Seth. I trust you a great deal. I figured I would give you the clearance for this stuff eventually.
Go on, let it out.
It's your line.
Go on, let it out.
It's your line!
You didn't burp. So does this mean I'm getting an actual security clearance? Wait, what the fuck? Clearance?
Now, don't get ahead of yourself just yet. I'm still going to hold off on telling you any classified details for now. But I can tell that there's no need to worry about any of it at the moment. Early on the phone, that was just the chairman being overly cautious about something that has been an issue for years.
And that thing about reality bending?
Once again, it hasn't been a problem for years!
A red light appeared on Conrad's desk. Seth stared at the crimson signal. What the fuck? Mr. Brindis?
Yeah, I see it. You know, today's just not my day.
Doesn't that light mean...
It means that there is apparently a problem that shouldn't be happening. But since it is,
I have to deal with.
I thought I didn't...
You do now. Effective immediately, I'm giving you level C secure access. ... I need to make a call. And then we're going to deploy a team where we can get the alarm he got the alarm from. After that, both of us are going down there. I want your help with this.
Are they just gonna put a Ralph... I was gonna say, are they gonna put a Ralph to Gun's head? Are they gonna put a gun to Ralph's head? Conrad picked up the phone on his desk and dialed in a number.
This is Commissioner Conrad Brindis. I need you to send me down to my office.
Wait, what? I need you to send me down to my office?
Don't think too much of it and read the fucking toast poem.
Maybe he's talking about the toast.
Oh, yeah!
Maybe it's like, I need you to send me down to the toaster's office, but since it's
No, I need you to
toaster...
send the toaster down to my office.
Or that.
Because he's in his office right now.
Yeah, but what if he needs to go down to the toaster's office? And he needs, like...
The toaster doesn't have an office!
How do you know?
From the fucking file we read!
But it's like a god to them!
Not in this one yet.
Are you sure?
There's obviously before all the toast cult happened.
I don't know. We've already seen 4 people who love to fuck with toast.
Seth just fucking likes the stuff!
My followers planned out the entire operation to retrieve me. There's no doubt, however, that it would have been advantageous to think further ahead in their preparation to deal with the fallout. The Foundation would not take lightly such an attack and the theft of what they thought they had a right to hold. Soon negotiations got old, and when they refused to accept the proposal to defuse the situation, it was clear that an escalation was imminent. Their ultimatum was clear for them to hear, but my followers, my fellow toasters, would never back down. My followers would not release me, and the foundation of my incarceration would not let me continue to be free. If only they had known what horrors had been released by taking what the Foundation owned. Even when the battle ceased and their enemy lay fallen, a new day of chaos was upon my followers.
All this over a fucking toaster.
The fucking toaster. The toaster that got fucked. Ralph was not tired. He had stayed up all night in his kitchen, but his head was spinning too much for him to even think about exhaustion. He had little attention to the window as the sun began to rise, and even less to his alarm clock, which had began to ring. All he could think about right now was trying to understand what he was doing. None of this makes any sense. Am I just going crazy? He checked his kitchen counter again, but he still found no evidence of any of the slices. The question of what exactly he was supposed to do hung over his mind. Around it was a mix of emotions from confusion to concern to frustration. And then Ralph decided what he was going to do. I'm never going to eat another damn piece of toast ever again.
That'll show the liberals.
The damn libtards. It was only at that point that he decided to check the time. When he looked over at his clock, he saw that he was over an hour late for work. Ralph cursed out loud and rushed back to his room, not noticing the knock at his door. As fast as he could, he changed his clothes, went back to his kitchen to grab a Pop-Tart, and then rushed to his door, not hearing anyone outside. As he slammed the door open, he felt himself collide with something. Ralph heard a surprised yelp, a thump of someone hitting the floor, and a muffled crack. A moment later, he saw the police officer lying on the ground. "Holy shit!" he said as he rushed to the officer. "Sir, officer, are you..." The officer pushed Ralph away with one arm.
"Get the hell away from me!"
"Oh no," he exclaimed.
"What's wrong with you? Ram the door into a police officer after he tells you to come out of the room? Are you stupid? Well?"
"Tells you to... what?" Ralph said, puzzled. "I didn't hear you. I'm sorry, I was in a rush, and I'm late for work right now."
"I could throw your ass in jail right now for assaulting me."
The officer replied angrily. He pulled his right out from under him, revealing it to be twisted painfully.
"Ah, damn it!"
Like it's just a mild inconvenience. Ralph got back up. "Okay, I can go get help," he suggested. "I'm sorry about this, sir. I honestly didn't hear you. I wish I'd been paying attention. Don't worry, I'll be right back." With great haste, Ralph ran back into his apartment and grabbed the telephone. He rushed to punch in an emergency number and held the phone to his ear. There was no dial tone. Confused, he tried again to call for help, but got the same result. He hung up the phone and rushed back to the door, hoping to ask a neighbor for assistance. When he got to the door, there were now several officers standing in front of him. The one he had knocked down earlier stood in the front, holding a taser in his right hand.
It's the Toast Cult!
What are you holding? Was all Ralph could say before he heard a pop, a buzzing sound, and felt his muscles spasm. God damn it, there's so much more left.
You're the one that wanted the fucking applesauce one.
I asked and you said it was fine. Seth sat in the back of Conrad's car as they were driven towards the area where the alarm originated. So there used to be an organization that dealt with these guys.
More than just reality benders, Seth. The Foundation held all sorts of things.
I told you! This is after the toaster got taken.
Okay then.
That peaked.
It's been peaking.
More than just reality benders, Seth. The Foundation held all sorts of things. Statues that move when you aren't looking. In plays that drive the actors and audience to insanity. Giant amalgamations of clockwork. They kept all kinds of things.
That play one actually sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah. My question, what happened to all of them? Like, let's say the dangerous ones.
Well,
Did they die of no toast?
Well, didn't the last poem say that a bunch of shit happened?
Yeah, but it was the Foundation members that were all dead. How does a toaster kill toast? You can't
kill... Well, I mean, if the Foundation members are dead, then obviously the fucking SCPs would escape.
Yeah, but what happened to them? Because you can't kill SCP-682, from what we know.
They all had to fuck the toast.
They had to fuck the toaster? That's how 682 died? It fucked the toaster?
Yeah!
You sound like a toaster. But how did they get out? Conrad was silent for a moment.
Do you remember learning about the Great Rebellion in school?
Of course I did, Mr. Berindus. That was when the CIT rose to power. What does CIT stand for?
Clitoris inside toaster.
Cock inside toaster. I didn't just learn it in school. I had to take a test on it when I applied to get a job here.
Okay, but do you know what we were fighting against?
It was drilled into my head, sir. We overthrew the oppressive world structure and...
Seth, have you ever considered the fact that maybe that wasn't the whole truth? ... That old government wasn't just some evil villain from a children's story. They stayed in power all the time because they kept the world safe. They kept the things that could have destroyed the planet several times over in check.
Conrad looked out the window and frowned.
They were the ones who made sure that people who bent the world with their minds stayed locked away.
Seth was silent for a moment, but then spoke up. Are you saying that the organization we overthrew was the Foundation? Conrad sighed and said nothing. So, what would the name of Ralph be under the Foundation? The leader? Like, all of them have names, like the fucking toaster.
Anti-toast man.
Anti-toast. Where was I? Boss, why would we do something that stupid? You're telling me that this organization held things that could have killed millions. And yeah, see? That kept. Like, obviously nothing has happened, apparently. That could have killed millions and that they kept away from hurting anyone. But then we just went and got rid of them? Why the hell would we do something that stupid?
Seth, they weren't a good organization.
I'm not saying that they are. I'm saying that it's...
Were. Past tense.
I'm not saying that they were. I'm just saying that it sounds like we didn't have any backup plan to deal with all this stuff. Because I don't know how else a guy like this is still out there.
Seth, we had reasons.
We had to be able to make sure we could fuck a toaster. We better have some pretty damn good reasons.
The toaster was just pretty fine.
Pretty fine
toaster. It was the only thing that passed the smasher pass.
What about the toast?
The toast was a hard pass.
A hard pass? But that's what's come out of the toaster. That's what the old man shoved up his ass.
Anyway...
We better get some pretty damn good reasons.
We better have some pretty damn good reasons. If it wasn't for us making a dumbass decision, we wouldn't be dealing with this situation right now.
If we hadn't made that decision, that's a no point.
Seth was silent for a few moments. I'm sorry, I'm just really nervous about this.
So am I, Seth.
Now both of them were silent. Mr. Brindis,
Yes.
what exactly was the reason that we did that? Conrad held up the toaster in his lap.
I am.
Oh, no.
The entire foundation fucking died because of a fucking toaster. What does applesauce have to do with
That's my question! Where's the applesauce?
I did it.
You already told me about me. I get it. Me being a toaster that you can only refer to in the first person. It's weird. I don't see why that was enough for us to do something that risky.
That's not the only effect.
My only effect. Well, what else is there?
I'm going to tell you what my other effect is. And when we get down to the site, I'm going to prove to you that we made the right choice. But you have to be willing to listen. Okay?
Okay.
The truth can be the most bizarre statement, so incomprehensible as to drive men insane. The abdomen of truth, however, was never proclaimed to be just. This is what my followers aim to accomplish, to admonish those who hid what must be known, even if only by a few. My truth must be heard, and for all who have stirred to release it, it will be spelled out plainly. I told them that they were toasters. I didn't boast this fact as being any more complex than each and every next sunrise. But such a simple thing, when truly understood, can bring with it madness to the weak and strong, the evil and good. And so when the foundation failed and the last nail placed in their coffin, all that remained was to capture the strange things that which had escaped. For this I was of use. So they made these SCPs think that they were fucking toasters just to get them back?
Is that seriously what they did?
That's essential.
I zoned out during this, so I had zero clue what was going on.
And so when the foundation failed and the last nail placed in their coffin, all that remained was to capture the strange things which had escaped, the SCPs. For this I was of use, for when one who bends reality to their will is struck still by the thought that they are in fact a toaster. This is as certain as the stars what they believe manifest.
Yes, the statue. You're a toaster.
The statue can't even speak. What did it say?
The fucking plague doctor. Toaster.
I am a toaster.
A fucking play. How do you convince a fucking play?
I am a toaster. Ralph had been sitting in his kitchen with his legs tied to a chair, sitting in front of the table for what felt like hours. For most of the time, he listened to the muffled voices outside, trying to understand what they were saying. He caught none of it, and was left only with his thoughts, which were in a similarly incomprehensible state. Why doesn't he just think, I want to get rid of all toast? Boom.
It didn't work. Didn't work. He did try that.
I want to get rid of that piece of toast.
That would work.
I want to get rid of that piece. That'd take quite a while.
Yeah.
Maybe you can go pile by pile. I want to get rid of that pile of toast. I want to get rid of that pile of toast.
And then God said, I want to get rid of that pile of toast.
Why do you sound like fucking Obama?
I don't fucking know. It wasn't at all
And then
intentional.
God said, get rid of the toast.
It wasn't at all intentional.
We all know that it was the toast's fault. I don't like the toast. Get rid of it.
I don't like toast. It's coarse, rough, and irritating. And it gets everywhere.
So we have Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Anakin Skywalker.
Like Gorsh Scoob? Or,
Gore
no,
Scoob?
like Gorsh
What-
Mickey? This
Which
toast
fucking
is pretty
series are
good.
we in?
I kind of want it gone.
To toast or to not toast? There is no toast. There is
Read
no
the
bread.
fucking thing.
Much to his relief, the door eventually opened and two men walked in. His relief vanished, however, when he saw one of them carrying a toaster and a loaf of bread. I'd like to point out we've been doing this for almost an hour, reading about toast. While one of the men simply stood next to the table, the other took his time placing the bread and toaster on the table in front of him. Then, still moving slowly, he grabbed the chair and sat across from Ralph.
So.
No, this is Conrad.
Is it?
Yeah. Because he had the toast in the car. No.
So.
He began.
How are you doing right now?
Ralph decided that a scowl would best convey his current state of mind.
I'll take it as angry then.
The man went on.
Well, I guess that makes sense. We did kind of tie you up and lock you in your house.
Ralph was profoundly
Hey.
unamused by the attempt.
Are you Conrad?
But you're still. You go. I said my line.
All right.
He continued.
So you could just state your name.
Why the hell are you sick assholes keeping me here? Ralph replied bluntly. The man said nervously.
Well...
Is it for assaulting that police officer? Ralph fumed. His arm was fine. I saw him holding a taser in it right before he stunned me. The man was taken aback for a moment.
This is Seth.
Oh, wait, really? I've been talking to myself! Do I have to read this whole thing?
Well, just say, well, you see.
Wait, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Wait, that means I need to create a voice for Seth. Well, you see...
Seth, let me handle this.
The other man cut in. Seth got up from the chair and let the other man sit down. He took a slice of the bread, put it in the toaster, and said, "Could you get it
No,
for
that's
me?"
me.
Wait, are you sure?
Could you get for me?
What?
Yes.
No, what he said. Could you get for me?
I don't know, just a typo. I don't know. It's an
Yeah.
SCP story about fucking
Yes,
toast.
Mr. Brandis, Seth said, and then he walked away. Mr. Brandis began speaking.
It's rather interesting what that officer told us. He said that right after you said, "I wish I hadn't been paying attention," and ran back into this apartment, his arm healed himself.
Well, Ralph sputtered, "you must be crazy then. That's not..."
You saw what happened, and he felt what happened.
Seth handed Mr. Brandis a plate, and then he continued.
Cut the crap and tell me your name.
I can't do anything like that. I made some toast disappear, sure, but this? I don't see how that's possible. He must have been faking his broken arm, or maybe...
Hen?
Mr. Brandis said. Brandis, fuck. Interrupting his thoughts.
Your name?
Ralph Crudham. It's a load of crud.
Thank you.
He said, though it may have been Seth who now stood next to the table.
Now, Mr. Crudham, do you believe that you could perform such a feat on what I have described?
Ralph decided to play along. I'm not sure,
I think you can.
Mr. Brandis said bluntly.
And it would probably be best if you would be honest with us.
The slice popped out of the toaster, golden brown. Mr. Brandis picked up the slice, placed it on the plate, and slid it across the table.
Hungry?
He asked. Ralph stared at the piece for a moment, and then he looked back up at the two men. He could not tell if they were kidding or not. Shut the fuck up! Mr. Crudham, Seth said. Are you okay?
You have your license, your parking ticket.
Screw it, I don't care, I'm not eating this thing. I wish that piece of toast wasn't there. In the blink of an eye, the toast was gone. Seth backed away from the table, breathing heavily, with a vague look of terror on his face. The other man, however, barely flinched. If you guys expected me to eat that, Ralph explained, you're nuts.
So it's true then.
The man sighed.
You can do this sort of thing.
Yeah, so what? Ralph continued. I make toaster disappear with my mind.
Are you getting bored of
There,
the
I said
fucking
it. Are you
toaster?
happy? I am! The man looked at Seth and calmly said,
Yes, I am. Alright, Seth, you've seen enough of this. Let's head out.
Yes, Mr. Brandis, Seth replied, and they both started towards the door. Hey, wait, Ralph said loudly. You can't just leave me here tied up. Neither of the men paid any attention to him as they hurried out and slammed the door. Now Ralph was left alone with his thoughts. His thoughts at this point were a complete mess. Every bit of information from the past day was jumbled around with lingering questions. He still didn't know how he had made the toast vanish. He couldn't figure out why the police had come to his house or why he had been tied up. And then there was the question of the officer's arm. It was the same way with the toast. I tried to rationalize it, but it turned out that I'd have actually done something that should have been impossible. His stream of consciousness ran forward to one inevitable conclusion. I do not know what I'm capable of.
It's not just the anti-toast, he's the anti-everything.
He's the anti-anti. What are we on? Oh, we're still on part 1 of it. Goodbye, Julia. In turn, he realized what he needed to do. He needed to figure out the full extent of his abilities. Well, I guess I need to figure it out then. I should start by trying to get out of here. Conrad and Seth walked out of the restaurant near the apartment.
You doing alright, Seth?
Yeah, I guess.
Alright, you just seem kinda tense since yesterday.
They approached the car and opened the doors. I know, it's just weird to think that he could just make something vanish like that, and we were right next to him. I turned to the passenger side. Conrad put his hand on Seth's shoulder.
Don't worry, I won't do it.
Listen! Listen!
Stop. Stop. You can do that, but don't do it.
Fine. Listen, we caught him early. We always do. His abilities never got strong enough to be dangerous.
Seth sat in the back of the car and buckled in.
If it makes you feel any better, Seth, I was also nervous in there.
Seth looked through the back of the window of the car as it began to drive off. Well, you certainly didn't show it, boss.
Look, what I'm saying is that it's okay to be nervous sometimes, especially with something like this. Just don't let it get to you.
All right. Where's the leak, ma'am?
Where's the leak, ma'am?
The car was silent for a moment. Mr. Brindis, is it true what you said about me? You said that I made people think that they were toasters.
Yeah, that's the whole reason why I'm used for these sort of things. What a reality bender believes becomes real, and if they believe that they are a harmless appliance, problem solved.
I got that, but is the other part true? The fuck?
I'll say after this. No, it's just a text I got.
Oh.
What do you mean, Seth?
You said I showed people the truth.
Which is?
You said that, in a way, we're all toasters. Is that really true? Conrad sighed.
About to get a deep mythological, philosophical debate about if everyone's toasters.
Are you a toaster?
I think so. If you're around me long enough, you'll know.
Don't worry, we're almost over.
Alright. Seth was silent for a moment, then continued. Wait, how long have you been around me? Conrad smiled.
Long enough to know.
But isn't that dangerous?
Not if you know what you're getting into.
Conrad looked out the window.
It's sort of metaphysical. It's difficult to explain. I think you'll understand it if you're around me long enough.
Boss, he paused. How do you know that this is true? What if it's just, I don't know, just me telling you something wrong?
I just do.
The car pulled into the parking lot behind the apartment building.
We won a war for me, Seth. We went against a strong enemy and we didn't win easily. I'm pretty sure we were following me for a better reason than just talking about me in the first person all the time.
The car, whoops. The car parked next to the tent that technicians had set up earlier. Seth and Conrad got out of the car and went inside. The technicians were rushing about, all looking concerned and surprised. Dozens of lights were blinking and a loud buzzing filled the area. Conrad simply stood at the entrance for a moment.
That can't be good.
One of the guards rushed over to them. Who is it?
Commissioner, we just got a spike in our readings.
No. Commissioner, we just got a spike in the readings. Conrad stared at him with a puzzled look for a second before approaching one of the many pieces of measurement equipment that were kept inside. It was a simple analog meter with a graph being printed on a sheet of paper. The graph showed a spike before abruptly dropping. Conrad opened his mouth but said nothing before entering a brisk walk back towards the apartment building. Seth quickly followed. Sir, what's going on?
That can't... Oh, wait.
Whoops. Conrad opened the door and rushed into the stairwell.
That can't be right. That can't be right.
Mr. Brindis? They both soon reached the second floor and ran to the apartment. 2 guards remained stationed at the door.
Open the door!
Mr. Brindis, what's going on? The door was open and they both stared inside. Excuse me. The kitchen was clearly visible, as were the table and chairs and the toaster and the loaf of bread. Conrad approached closer. He looked around the room, then at the table. After a moment, he turned back to Seth.
He got out, Seth.
Who got out?
That fucking reality bender. He got out.
I'm good. He stared back at the table.
This shouldn't have happened. This isn't possible. He wasn't supposed to be this strong yet.
Mr. Brindis? Well.
Oh, it's yours.
Conrad dropped to his knees.
How?
Seth walked over to the table and looked at it carefully. Words seemed to be printed on it in some sort of ink, which already appeared to have set into the surface. Seth did not... you can't make me eat any more goddamn toast. Seth did not even think about what this meant. He looked at Conrad and then knelt down beside him. After a few minutes, he spoke. I guess this guy didn't like the toast, boss. Is it possible that a man could have so much in common with me, a simple appliance? Would a character in me, a toaster, come to being similar? Perhaps so. His plight, his desire to be free. For me, it's familiar. When oppression reared itself and he feared that would be lost, he prevailed. For me, the Foundation paid the cost, and for him, it was my followers. Perhaps he may attract a few crowds too. He said that he'd tired of toast, and maybe I also grow weary of being the stuff. Or grow weary of the stuff. After so long of making it all the time, maybe I've had enough. Or at least I would have if I could feel as such things, but I can't. I'm just a toaster. What does this have to do with applesauce? That's the story, by the way. You're angering the dog.
Absolute peak literature.
We read that story for over an hour. For about an hour.
How one simple toaster can topple the entire fucking SCP Foundation?
It...
Genius! This is exactly like Morbius.
Stop talking. I haven't seen it.
I haven't either.
I didn't even know that it came out.
It came out last week.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Just a bunch of memes about how people hated it so much started appearing.
Yeah. My dad said he would take me to it, and then just told me no like a few days later, just because of the critic reviews.
Let's go watch it tomorrow.
I'm fucking down. No, I got play rehearsals tomorrow.
Let's do it next. We'll do it Sunday.
That's what the text is about that from earlier. Anyway.
What? I hated this.
Like.
I hated it.
Why?
I hated it.
Why?
That's my answer. Why? Why? My first anger is, what did this have to do with applesauce? The word let me guess, applesauce was never phrased even once. I never saw the word applesauce. I never saw the word apple. I never saw the word sauce. What the fuck? I hated this story.
I like the poems that talked about the fall of the Foundation.
I mean, those were comical, yeah, but I want to bash my head into this table.
I like how the solution to stop the SCPs from running amok is just making them think they're a toaster.
They're a fucking toaster. I want everyone here that sees this to go onto the SCP Foundation website and read the story for yourself. God.
It's so beautiful.
No.
It's my favorite fucking SCP. I'm giving it an 11 out of 10.
I give it a -2 out of 10. No, I give it a 2 out of 10 for the poems. Everything else can go die in a fire.
Well, we need to rank the file and the story separately.
I mean, as a file, I give it a 6. File is a 6, the story's a 2.
See, the file is an 8 for me, and then a 12 for the story.
What happened to it being 11?
A 13 for the story. A 14 for the story.
Yep, the story gets a 2. 5 of the points were lost because I never fucking mentioned applesauce. And then the other 3 points were just, the story sucked. Personally. The only 2 points it gets are the poems.
It was so fucking entertaining.
It was entertaining, I'll give it that.
This has been the Toast Manor podcast. I'm Iris.
I'm a toaster.
Eat some fucking toast, you animals.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.